Welcome to another episode of The Aligned Singer. I'm so excited that you're here today because today I'm going to talk about and break down the one thing that you can do every day to take your voice from wherever it is right now to wherever you wish it would be. This is the essence of connecting the dots to create the sounds, the qualities in your singing that you wish you had, and it's called vocalizing. I'm going to walk you through it today in such an amazing way. This episode was actually a request from one of my best friends, or maybe a suggestion. I was like, what do you think I should talk about? And he said, you should break down vocalizing. So that's what I'm doing today. What a fantastic suggestion. But before we dive in, let me introduce myself. I am your vocalizing bestie. I love vocalizing. My name is Sarah Hockey. I'm a classical soprano and a voice teacher, and my expertise is in vocal technique, which is exactly what we're talking about today. Sometimes on The Aligned Singer, we talk about the inner work, the mindset work, but today we get to talk about the technique, which is my main mamma jamma as a voice teacher and as a singer, because I had to reestablish my technique and learn it all over again after I graduated undergrad because I had a lot of vocal problems. And today I can't wait. This is going to, if you don't know what this stuff is and you know what it is, but you don't understand how to do it, I'm about to freaking skyrocket your vocal growth. I cannot wait. Anywho, I'm your bel canto bestie. I was trained in the bel canto lineage, which I have other episodes of The Aligned Singer on, but this is one of the things in bel canto lineage that's so important is vocalizing. And all voice teachers from any kind of school of thought agree. And let's dive in. Today, we're going to connect the dots from wherever you are now in your singing life and journey, especially in your voice, to wherever you want to be. And that's what every single episode of The Aligned Singer is designed to do. I'm just here as your fairy godmother to help your dreams come true. So today we are diving into vocalizing. So I've said that word, 7 times already? 10 times? You can count. That would be fun. And I first want to say, if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about when I say this fancy word, vocalizing, don't stress. I'm going to sign your permission slip. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you take your singing seriously and you didn't know what it was. You're about to know. And this can be your new vocabulary word of the week. You can talk about it with all your performer friends. Did you vocalize today? Did you vocalize today? You can start a group chat about vocalizing. That would be my dream come true. I don't know if it's your dream come true, but it's certainly this voice teacher's dream come true. So what the heck is it? So another word for vocalizing is warming up, but I specifically do not call it warming up. I'll tell you why later. I like to actually use the real term, which is vocalizing. So what even is vocalizing? The whole design of warming up your voice or vocalizing, the reason we do it is not, golly, there's so much to say about this. And to be honest, I've actually recorded this episode twice already. The first time I felt like it was too short, and the second time there was a problem with my beloved microphone and the thing that connects the microphone to the camera. The batteries were going dead and I can't use the episode. So here I am again. And now I've taught on this twice already. So you're going to get a flood of information that's been refined now for the third time. And one of the things I've said about vocalizing in all these recordings is it's meant to align your instrument. It's no wonder I named this show and movement The Aligned Singer. I'm talking about inner alignment and outer alignment. And today this is outer alignment. We're actually aligning your instrument. So let's say that this part in your voice, this note or quality is like a little bit too shrill, a little bit too dark, a little bit too, you've probably heard these terminology, forward, a little bit too backward, a little too instead of or a little too and not a lot of I'm actually going to be brave and give you a lot of actual demonstrations in this episode, which I've never, ever, ever done before, but I was just warming up myself and my mind and practicing. So I actually want to show you from my perspective as an expert on vocal technique, but also a professional soprano, what this actually is. So vocalizing is meant to line your instrument up, and it's not to some general, like, okay, it sounds good. It's really, if you're working with an amazing technician like me or some of my colleagues, and you have a voice teacher like us, then your voice teacher is doing their best to usher in new qualities and new sounds in your voice that they can hear. It's like, I'll speak for myself. I can hear a student's potential in their voice. I can hear the essences and qualities and the beauty in their unique sound. And then my job as a voice teacher is to unblock and take away all the entanglements and weird habits and weird alignment and this confusion from a different voice teacher and all of this, so that you can get to your greatest sound possible, your best, your most beautiful, your most powerful, your most communicative. That is my job. And that's what vocalizing's job is. This is so funny because I've already, as I told you and admitted to you, done this twice, and it never came out quite like this. So I'm glad I had to do it 3 times. The job of vocalizing is to be your voice's voice teacher and adjuster when you're not with me, your voice teacher, when you're not actually in a lesson. Vocalizing is how you continue the work that your voice teacher is doing in giving you adjustments and establishing your technique and your sound, and also giving you adjustments in your repertoire. And if you don't know what that word means, it comes from French. It just means the different songs that you're singing in your lessons. That's what repertoire is. So you're learning all these cool words. So even the adjustments in the repertoire. And then your job as the singer is to take those adjustments and do them again and again and again. And it's called vocalizing. So vocalizing is unique to you and your instrument. Do you remember just a second ago how I said that one of my special gifts as a voice teacher is being able to hear the unique potential in your sound, the unique beauty in your sound, and draw that up to the surface and let anything that's messing that up, covering it up, weird old habits, help those to completely go away so that your best sound can come forward. Your healthiest, most beautiful, most vibrant, most communicative, most powerful, emotionally and vocally sound. That's what vocalizing's job is as well. So we're going to hop in, and I want to explain why. Remember I told you I'd circle back to warming up and why I don't call it warming up. I don't call it warming up because I think the connotation around the term and phrase warming up is that you're just doing a set of exercises that other people do too, and you just all do it. Yeah, yeah. That is not true vocalizing. And I'm really pumped to tell you this because it feels like this huge secret that only vocal technicians know, and you're about to get the freaking gold. This is gold, what I'm about to give you. So if you're distracted, I want you to zoom in and focus and come back to me. And you may want to listen to this section of this episode multiple times. This is extremely important. Let me take a breath. Whew. So, doing general warm-ups that maybe you found on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. Heck, I'm on all those platforms, and I'm over here trying to figure out how to make vocalizing sequences for you that are going to be helpful. But if you just find random vocal exercises online and sing along with them, there's a big problem in that if you're a serious singer and you want to move your technique forward. For somebody, I know this isn't you. For somebody who, I was just chatting with somebody on TikTok about this. She never sings, she holds her voice back, and she just wants to do it just for her own personal enjoyment. For her, that would be right, because all she wants to do is go from this is connecting the dots for that person, not singing, to singing casually. But you, my friend, are a serious singer. And because you are, singing along with random exercises is just going to keep your voice at the same place it already is or make it worse. This is the gold. Come back to me if you're distracted, like I said. It's because you're going to sing the exercises the way you always sing. So you're bringing all of your habits that are maybe undesirable habits that are holding your singing back from your greatest potential. You're going to bring all that into anything you sing. So I can give you a random exercise from the internet and you're going to sing it like that. What does that do? It continues to pattern in the same habits and patterns that you're already doing. So I could even say some bad habits, some patterns that you've picked up that are no longer serving you, that are actually, you want to be farther along with your voice and it's keeping your voice back and keeping you stuck. If you continue to repeat, meaning sing like that over and over and over and over again, that is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger in your voice. It doesn't mean that it's not fixable. Of course it is, especially if you work with a technical expert just like me. It is fixable. But if you're wanting to move your technique and voice forward into a new realm, making sounds that you haven't been able to make, finding aspects of your voice and qualities in your sound that you can't yet do, then doing a warm-up practice like that is not going to move the needle for you. It's just going to keep you at the same level, and you're going to feel more and more frustrated because you're going to say, well, I'm practicing, I'm warming up for 10 minutes a day, but things aren't really changing. What do I do? And you're going to feel like, what the heck? So that's why I don't call it warming up. And that's why I don't suggest that you, a serious singer who's really looking to make big strides in your singing pursuits and career and technique, that's why I suggest that you don't use anything that's cookie cutter, that's just a general, like pick it up in a book or pick it up online. Now let's cover what can help you have breakthroughs in your voice, because that's what I'm all about around here on the Aligned Singer. So first, I want to give you an example. As I've been preparing to talk about this on today's episode, I remembered a big breakthrough that I had, and I want to paint a picture for you because this could be you. This could be you, my friend, if you learn how to vocalize. So you might have heard me share that my first 6 years in New York City, the first year was just like figuring out life because I didn't know anything. And then I was lucky enough to start studying privately with a voice teacher on the Juilliard faculty. He was kind enough to work with me even though I needed to rebuild my technique because during undergrad, I had developed a lot of vocal problems. I was in the wrong voice type. He had pegged me as a mezzo-soprano or an alto, and I'm a high soprano and a light soprano. So it's like literally the opposite of my actual essence of my instrument. So I was with a voice teacher who couldn't hear the potential and the essence in my instrument and did not understand how to connect me to that. And it really moved me very far in the wrong direction, like almost like an airplane, and it's not called GPS. Your navigational system is like a slightly off, and then you end up in a completely different location, right? That's kind of what was happening in my technique during undergrad. And I was like, I know I have a mountain to climb. I want to find somebody who has a great reputation and ideally is on faculty at one of the conservatories in New York City where I was living. And I did. So I studied with Steve Smith at Juilliard, and Steve has a book out, and which was so helpful for me. It was a book about technique, but the most helpful thing, some of the ideas in it I loved. I just gobbled it up. Like I needed to be in that environment again after taking like the first year to figure out work situation, living situation, everything. I was so excited that I just gobbled this book up before my first 2-3 lessons with him. And he would teach me the exercises that he wrote in this book. And what was so helpful is they were really, really simple vocalization exercises that were written out in the book. And that, my friend, is how I personally learned to vocalize. So before this, the undergrad and my first year in New York, I didn't know how to do this. And then I finally realized, oh, there are certain exercises, and if you learn the intention and the where they're not, you don't even need to know how they're shaping your voice, but you need to be intentional while you do them. Like you don't randomly sing. I'm gonna use the same exercise I used before. Hee-ah. Like that's not doing anything for your voice. It's just not, right? But if you're like, oh, I'm lining up my E vowel and the oh and the ah and whatever, hee-ah, all of a sudden it can be helpful for you. You know what I mean? So that's what I started to learn. And then I got really brave because I was paying a lot of money on my teeny tiny income in New York City to study with this teacher at Juilliard. I was definitely going to figure out how to practice. And this is so cool because it connects to one of the first episodes I ever did with the fill in the blank exercise. Like I can't practice because blank. We're not talking about that today. Go find that one if you want to take a look at it. If you're having trouble carving out time to practice, that's where to go after you hear this episode. But I finally figured that out and found a time and a place where I could practice, even though I had 100 roommates. And I started to make myself sit down at this little keyboard that I had in my bedroom. I made like a little nook, kind of like the size of where I'm sitting right now. And that was my practice nook. So I had my little area and I was getting ready to practice. And I would actually notate from the recordings of our lessons the different things that I was supposed to do, and then I started to do them every single day. And I remember the moment that I finally had a breakthrough in my singing. It was on a D above middle C, the second D above, and I started to feel this new sensation that I'd never felt before in my singing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think something just happened. Oh my gosh. And I journaled about it. I think I had a vocalizing journal at the time. So I journaled about it and I talked about it with him in our next lesson. Like, here's the sensation that happened. What was this? And now 20 years later, I know it was actually, ooh, this makes me want to cry. It was a connection to whistle tone that was happening way, way, way lower. Isn't that amazing? So I know what it is now, but at the time I didn't know what it was. But it came, that was a turning point in my singing. It was literally one note that finally came out differently. And I'm telling you, I had to rebuild my whole instrument. So I don't think that in your voice you have like the one note. You're probably not at that place of needing to restart. But I was, and that's where it began. And I finally understood how to start to cultivate in my sound what I wanted to have in my sound. And that can be you. So let's go back and talk a little bit more about the point of vocalizing. The point of vocalizing is not warming up so your voice is like, I'm warm for this performance. It is, but it's also not. It is, and it's not. That's not the whole story. Maybe that's a better way to explain it. That's not the whole story. Yes, of course, when I have a rehearsal or later this evening, I need to prepare for a concert that I was just hired for. Actually, 2. Yay! And I need to vocalize. So I just need to get ready to rehearse through that music and warm my voice. But also, there's like a missing piece that singers don't know. And here it is. This is more gold. So if you're distracted again, just zoom in and come back to me. This again might be something that you want to listen to a couple of times if it's the first time you're learning this information. So vocalizing is also meant to move you towards a new sound in your voice. And I've said that in other ways, but have you ever had the experience I did. When I first moved to New York and I started going to the Metropolitan Opera constantly, I would go on student tickets and rush tickets all the time to see as much classical music as I could, all in Lincoln Center. I'm a classical musician professionally. I said that at the beginning, but that's why I was prioritizing that over Broadway. Broadway, I'm very passionate about and love, but it's not what I'm passionate about actually performing. So I was going to all these operas and trying to figure out how they were doing this with their voice. And I would then go home and be like, I don't sound at all like that. I'm like screechy and struggling, and my voice feels really small and really tiny. Like, what? So if there are singers that you admire, for me, it was those singers at the Met. If there are singers, I want to say on the radio, but I feel like everybody just listens to Spotify and Apple Music. So if there are singers streaming or on Broadway or in the classical realm that you admire and you're like, oh, I love how their voice has this shimmery quality, or ooh, the warmth in their sound, they have such richness in their sound, or ooh, I love how flexible they were with their voice. And then you turn the lens back onto yourself and you're like, but I don't know how to do that. Vocalizing is how you can make these new connections and actually connect to those qualities so you can figure out how to do it in your own sound. I'm not saying you're going to emulate another singer, because the truth is bringing out the unique qualities in your sound is what helps you stand apart, not in a bad way, but in a good way. It helps you shine and shimmer and sparkle because your voice is unique to everyone else's. So, but those qualities, you can definitely embody warmth, shimmer, this kind of tone, flexibility in your voice. I'm talking about those qualities that I just named are things that you can embody in your sound if those are the things that you're aspiring to develop in your sound, but they're not yet present. And vocalizing is how you do that. So I promised you that I was going to give you a couple of examples of how this actually looks. If I'm given an exercise by my voice teacher and I start to sing, let's back it up. Let's say I want to sing. This is what came to me as I was getting ready to film this for you / audio record. If you're just listening, look deeply into your earbuds and you can see the video footage. Anyways, I try to make that joke every episode. You know I do. Just laugh with me. I think it's funny. Looking deeply into your earbuds. So as I was getting ready for this episode, I was thinking about in my 20s, I found out about this coloratura Bach aria. And I had just been scrolling a little bit on a colleague's feed. She's a Baroque, meaning like 1700s, 1600s flute player. And she's really good. And I love her social media. And she's playing all this Bach stuff on her social media. And I was like getting ready, zhuzhing up my hair and makeup and going, I know the example I can give you. And it's a German, don't get lost in the Bach. If you're a pop singer, if you're musical theater, this is going to be an easy example for me to give because this is my repertoire. Let's say I went into my voice teacher and I want to sing this piece by Johann Sebastian Bach. And I'm going in and I'm singing it like this. We're going to fast forward because repertoire always happens at the end of your lesson, not at the beginning. But let's say I walked into my voice teacher and I was like, I really want to work on this Bach piece, but it's kind of coming out a little bit, I don't know, it sounds a little bit shrill. Let's pretend I use that word. And here's the first phrase of it. Like this. Let's say it's coming out like this. It. I know you're like plugging your ears, but let's say that it's coming out like that. But I want it to come out, and this would be not happening in the lesson yet, but in my imagination, here's what I would sound like in my imagination. It's very important for you to imagine your best singing. Let's talk about that in a second. Let's say in my imagination, in my inner ear, I can hear myself sounding like this because I've heard recordings and I put it together and I'm like, ooh, my dream sound would be, I'm trying not to sing too loud because I don't want to blow the mics out. But let's say that's my dream sound. How the heck am I going to get there if the way I walk into the lesson is Well, here's how. Let's say your voice teacher gives you an exercise like, let's say it's this one. If you start singing the extra, and this is so cool because there are singers that come in singing like, and I have to make it brighter like this. And I help them find that because they sing Broadway in musical theater. But for me, a Bach specialist, if I'm coming in and I sing the exercise like this, super, super bright, I would call this bright singing, very narrow singing. Listen carefully. I mean, it's not going to be pleasant, but maybe it will be. I tried to sing it really good, even though it's not right, for this sound. This sound would sound like this. Right? That's not right for Bach. It's not this sound. So if a student came to me, or my pretend self came to me in a lesson, I would say, open the throat, breathe in. We talk about impulse breath a lot in voice lessons with me. Do an impulse breath. You can do it with me literally right now, wherever you are. Nobody's going to know. Breathe like this. It's a happy breath, almost like you just opened your best gift and you're like gasping, but in a gentle, happy way. Like that. Take that breath, keep the throat open, and lift. Find lift. Or that's how you find this sigh or dome, etc. And of course, I'm skipping a bunch of steps. And oftentimes, if you have to establish a new sound, you have to work on it in lessons again and again and again. But that's giving you a sense of how vocalizing one exercise can help you either derail you, no thank you, or take you towards the sound that you're dreaming of. Do you hear how I'm singing those things the same way now? That's what it connects the dots to. Or let's say you walk into a lesson and you've over darkened your sound for some reason. I just had a very first lesson with a student last week, and she came in and her sound was a little bit over dark. Like whoever she's studying with is really confusing the singer. She's a great singer, tons of potential, but it's kind of like this. And it's slowing down her vibrato and kind of holding it's hiding her real sound. That person, you would give them vocalizations. They're called vocalizations, each individual one, to help connect them to their true sound, which would not be letting the sound be more dome-like, like what I was just showing you, but be brighter. So if I was singing a different phrase, let's take this one for example. This is a silly little vocalese that I wrote. Maybe it's not so silly if I'm sharing it with a whole wide world. But I've written some exercises with text for singers who connect better to what's going on in their technique with text. So let's pretend this is a song. And it's going like this. The words are forever and a day. They're just random words that have vowels that I need singers to work on. So this one, let's say a singer comes in is wanting to work on musical theater and maybe crossing over into classical, but they're singing like this. Forever and a day. The notes are forever and a day. And I need them to lighten up. I would say, collapse your throat a little bit, like collapse. Then sing, start to put it up in front. And it's called the mask, this part of you. If you look deeply into your earbuds, if you're just listening, but it's around the top of your eyebrows to your cheekbones. And think that you're singing a little bit more there and not swallowing it way down and back into the back of the neck. And that could sound like and if I can get them to make this sound and they want to learn how to mix or how to belt, that's even more helpful. I can't show you right here on the Aligned Singer because I am a classical singer. So I'm not going to mix on camera or belt on camera. My examples and lessons are just to show them how to nail it. So anyways, I digress. Then they could bring their sound more into this sound, forever and a day, or forever and a day. That's how I would sing that phrase. So whether it's in my classical example from my actual repertoire that I am hired to sing, or forever and a day, which could be more forward. That's how you start to connect the dots. I hope that this is landing for you. When you're given an exercise like, or you see this a lot on my Instagram and TikTok, where I'll crack or something like I just did for you on the top. There are two things that are happening. One is the exercises that you're doing, your voice teacher is actually giving you on purpose to cultivate new sounds in your voice. They're intentional. Use your voice lessons to continue working. We'll talk about that in a second. But the second thing is it's also helping you create new sounds when you get to your repertoire. That's what's so important. I promised. I had said we'd get to this in a second and then I forgot for a minute, but I'm back. So when you're working with your voice teacher, and if you're a serious singer and you need to work on your technique, you need to be working with a voice teacher. There's no other way to establish your technique, period. End of story. There's no other way. You cannot YouTube it. You cannot figure it out yourself because the way our instruments are built, we have no direct feedback loop. We do not know what we actually sound like. You need to get with a teacher that can actually hear you and adjust your instrument. Then what you do, so do that. If you don't have a teacher, you need to have a voice teacher. If you take your singing seriously and you want to sing at a professional level, I can't beat around the bush with that. That is the only way. It's the only way. Yes to content online. I love making it and sharing it with you. Yes to learning with courses to continue to develop. But if you've never had a voice lesson, you have to have one. You have to. So anyways, what you need to do, if you don't have one, this next step is not going to make sense. Take your actual voice lessons. And this I did not realize until I was a much more mature singer, about 30 years old. And I got with the teacher that I've been with now for 11 years. Take your actual voice lesson, the conversations, the instruction. Man, I'm giving you gold again. I feel like I'm telling you all the best secrets about vocal training and vocalizing in this episode. This is so freaking cool. So if you're distracted, come back to me. Take your actual voice lesson with your teacher. You can listen to the entire thing if you want to, which is kind of funny. I used to listen to the whole lesson and I'd be like, okay, like we're catching up for 10 minutes and I'm sharing like how I felt about this audition and this and that. And I used to think that that was not relevant. It is so relevant. It is all relevant. All of your banter, your conversation. But the juiciest part is the vocalizing portion of your lesson. So when your teacher is bringing you through exercises, kind of like what I was just showing you, little things that you could do with your voice. That's the part of your lesson that you want to grab onto. There's two things you want to grab onto. You want to grab onto those things that your voice teacher is doing with you. Those are gold. They are gold. They will give you a bang for your buck because you can listen to that and vocalize with it over and over and over again. Did you hear what I said? Actually vocalize along with your own freaking self in your own voice lesson from your past voice lessons. That is how I did it, my friend. I shouldn't keep it a secret. I didn't mean to keep it a secret, but I built my whole instrument, like kind of singing like this. Yeah, to this. Ja. That's the first phrase of Jaukset Gott in allen Landen, BWV. What is it? 57? I can't remember. 86? I can't remember. Anyways, it's this famous soprano cantata by Bach that I wanted to learn. But I got my dream sound that I'm using and demonstrating with right now because I did this. Because I actually figured out, wait a second. I want to move myself forward. I don't get to see my voice teacher very often. My lessons are really freaking expensive. How do I do this? And I go, wait a second. Let me open up GarageBand on my computer. Let me listen to the entire lesson, but let me take the vocalizing portion and make it into a little chunk of audio for myself. And I'll just warm up with that. And that is what I do now for 11 years. I still do it to this day. I told you there are two huge chunks of your lesson you want to zoom in on when you listen back. And the second chunk is this. It's when your voice teacher, when you're singing through repertoire with your voice teacher and they're giving you adjustments and grab a phrase and help you adjust that phrase. You want to you can try to practice with it. I personally don't exactly practice with the recording. I will notate stuff in my music, actually in my sheet music, and then work on working that into my repertoire. And let me tell you, I had a recent performance a couple of months ago, and there was one note that was really, really tricky and in my passaggio, and we worked on it in a lesson, and I forgot to go back and write that in my music. And that was the only sour note that I really didn't like in this like 90-minute solo concert that I gave. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to go back and work on that adjustment. So when your voice teacher is actually adjusting you in repertoire and saying, try to sing this phrase more, fill in the blank, whatever they say, or try a little bit more here or ah, or think this or think that. Go back to that part of your lesson, go into your practice session and work on those, tell yourself those things again, as if your voice teacher is telling you that again. And that, my friend, is the gold of your voice lesson, because that's what moves you forward. I'll tell you, when I was a teenager and in high school, at the time, there were no cell phones. I was born in 1984, so I'm 42 years old right now. I did not grow up with a cell phone. Luckily, you have them. But I had these teeny tiny tape players where I'd have a teeny tiny cassette tape. If you're my age or older, you know what I'm talking about. And I would play it back. But you know what I did? I would play it in the car, like on my way home from my voice lesson, because I was driving myself. I would only listen to myself sing through repertoire because I freaking liked to wait. I liked to hear myself sing again. And it was like an ego thing for myself. Like, yeah, I'm singing this. At the time in high school, I was singing Handel repertoire. And I was like, oh, I sing it so good. Oh my gosh, I love this song. But I was just a kid. I didn't know. I didn't know that I should be actually practicing the warming up, as I would have thought of it at that age, part of the lesson, but I should have been. So I gave you 3 giant golds in this episode of The Aligned Singer, and that was your third one. Those are the 2 big chunks of your lesson that you want to be listening to in order to double down on your vocalizing practice, so that, again, those dream qualities that you wish you had in your voice but are maybe inconsistent or not quite there yet, that's how you actually cultivate them. Isn't that so freaking cool? I think it is. There's another thing I want to address in this whole technique and vocalizing episode about vocalizing, and it's this. There are texts. I mentioned a book in this episode that I found, and at the time I found it helpful, but I'm going to be honest with you. There are some times when I'm chatting with people on social media, on Instagram and TikTok, where I am, that they'll ask me for books on technique. And remember how I recorded this 3 times? Last time I was like, I have a book right over on my shelf. And if you're watching the video, you can see me reach my shelf. I'm sitting right next to my bookshelf. But today I actually flipped to a page. Let's make my candles not freaking out. I wanted to light a candle because the audio messed up last time, to get a little bit of good vibes for us today, so our audio won't mess up and you'll actually be able to get this information. So look deeply into your earbuds if you're listening, and look at the screen if you're watching. I'm holding what I consider to be the seminal text on vocal technique. And it's called How to Sing. It's by Lily Lehmann. It was originally published in German. And of course, I don't read German very well, so this is the English translation. In my last recording of this, I flipped this page. I said, I'm going to flip to a page and I'm going to explain to you why I don't think that this is going to be helpful for you. I have, over on my bookshelf, I have a collection that I've started of books on vocal technique. This is literally my beach reading. I literally have sand in this book because I love reading this stuff in my hammock in my front yard or at the beach near my house. And I want to be totally honest with you. If you're in the place where you're figuring things out with your voice and you're pursuing your career and you're studying voice privately and you're working on things, I don't think that this is going to be helpful for you. Going back to undergrad, I took a vocal pedagogy class. The word pedagogy means how you teach a certain craft, pedagogy. So I had this book and I gave it away or something. It's no longer in my collection. I had to order this one online because it didn't make any sense to me. And I would read it and like really read it and really be committed in undergrad. And then when I moved to New York, because I tried to figure out my voice, And I'd be like, I feel so stupid. This doesn't make any sense. And I want to be completely honest with you. The only time this book started to make sense to me, and I've had it since I was like, 19, 20 years old when I took that vocal pedagogy class. It only started to make sense to me after I was an expert vocal technician, both as a performer and as a voice teacher. Now it makes sense. But it was after I mastered the craft of the voice, not before. Because here's why. This is so freaking important, and I feel like I'm tiring my voice and screaming into this microphone. So let me chill a little bit. I'm just so passionate about this because I don't want you to go on random tangents that keep you stuck. I want you to be in the direction that's actually going to move your craft forward and get you on the stage singing professionally as soon as humanly possible, because we really need your gift to be up on stage and we need you to be equipped to be able to do that. And I do not think that diving into texts like this is actually going to do it. And here's why. Very simple. You learn how to sing by singing. You do not learn how to sing by reading about singing. You learn how to sing by actually doing singing. I'm literally hitting my chair and it's probably annoying those of you who are listening, but I'm going to do it again. This is so important. You can only learn how to sing. I should have said this at the beginning of the episode. If you're with me, you're a gold star voice student, because this is another, I gave you 3 golds and this is the 4th gold. You can tell this is my wheelhouse because I just have so much to impart to you about this to get you to your success level. But reading this is not going to help you learn how to sing. It's not. Cognitive thought understanding of your voice is not it. What is superior is actually vocalizing, actually doing the exercises. We don't realize this, but these books are written by experts who are already experts, kind of like they're talking to the experts. But it's our job, it's the expert technician like me, a voice teacher, to translate this into something that's actually practical that you can sing. And I felt like it would be so fun to read you a phrase from this. And I think that this will be cool, and I think that you'll like it. But it's not going to teach you how to sing, because the only thing that teaches you how to sing is singing. Like reading a book about ballet is not going to teach you how to be a prima ballerina. Do you know what I mean? I think you do, especially if I gave you that juicy, like reading a book about tennis, I'm still not going to be good at tennis. I'm terrible at it. I will never play it in my life. Reading a book about gardening is informational about gardening, but nothing's going to grow back there in my garden unless I actually garden. Singing is the same way. You will not learn to sing by thinking about singing, by talking about singing, maybe some by talking about it and thinking about it, but certainly not by reading some complicated book about it. Here's the sentence. I'll be honest, I love the sentence. I found it again in the book. The head tone signifies youth for all voices. I agree. She's right. She's a genius. From the deepest bass to the highest soprano, leaving out of question the fact that it furnishes the overtones for each single tone of the whole vocal gamut. Okay, I don't know if this makes sense to you or not. It probably does. She's talking about head voice is the youth of your instrument, but me telling you head voice is the youth of your instrument isn't going to do anything for your singing. I mean, you'll be like, whoa, cool, head voice is your instrument. Then you'll take your head voice practicing seriously. But what's actually going to help you sing better is by doing something like this. I'll give you another example. I'm trying to be brave on this edition of The Aligned Singer. This is Brave Sarah right now. Something like this. So let me get ready. It's all head voice, but I'm connecting to a tiny sound. That is how we start to actually embody what it says in this book. Or another great example, people love my whistle tone stuff that I've been doing with my voice. And the thing is, it's a perfect example of this. It's a perfect example. It's why I love my voice teacher, another bel canto expert. It furnishes the overtones for every single tone in the whole vocal gamut. She was talking about from high soprano to low bass, so high notes to very low notes. Whistling out, whistling in, and then singing and whistle. It's that exercise. The whole point of all of that, over the thing we were talking about, overtones, every single tone, an exercise like that makes you reach way up into whistle tone. My cord from my microphone, if you're watching, just got stuck. Hello. We love you, microphone. So if you're reaching up into whistle tone and trying, what that exercise does is it's the embodiment of this, where it spins down through your voice. That's the whole point of that exercise. Do you see what I'm getting at? Reading words about it. If you're the person who's like filling your Amazon cart with all these books on technique, it's upside down, sorry. With all these books on technique, I really think it's going to click after the vocal stuff starts to click. And I don't think you need to really read this unless you're a voice teacher. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, and I do think it would be fun to do a series on these various diagrams and things like this. They're really cool, and the diagrams maybe will help if you have a lot of connection to the sensations in your mouth and body, but usually the person that's helping you connect the dots is a voice teacher, and we're the ones that are obsessed with this stuff. You have to make the sounds. That's how you actually learn. And let's circling back to the very beginning of this episode. Vocalizing is how you connect the dots to your dream sound, not other stuff in your life. You have to vocalize. The other thing I want to leave you with, we're going to finish on this note. A musical little joke there that I didn't even mean to make. We'll finish on this note that the only way that you're ever going to connect the dots from where you are now to where you want to be in your vocal journey, if you want qualities in your voice that you don't already have, is vocalizing. There's no other way around it. You have to do it. And I'll be honest with you, one of the first videos that I had that went like a little bit viral was talking about vocalizing every single day. And I said something like, vocalizing, I can't exactly remember what I said in the video, but I said something like, if you want to connect to new sounds in your voice, vocalizing is the way to do it. Vocalizing is the only way, and you need to do it every single day. And I remember somebody commented on that video, do you really mean every single day? And I was like, yeah, I do. Maybe you take one day off, but if you're at the stage in your development where you need to lay new groundwork in your voice, then as I told you about in my mid-20s when I was studying with that teacher at Juilliard, when I started to do it every day and sort of did it as a challenge for myself, like I can do this every day, and I found a time every day that I could do it, that's when the breakthrough happened. Not occasionally, not casually. I had to start taking it seriously, and then guess what? I got hired not that long after. It was only a couple of years more of study and like retraining, and then my career exploded all at once. It was like this huge shift that opened the door for my whole career. And it started because I was vocalizing every day and not skirting around it. I was treating my vocalizing practice like a professional. I showed up for it every day. So if you're in the place, again, where you need to lay new groundwork in your vocal technique, vocalizing every day is the only way. It's the only way to do it. I'm not saying that you vocalize and that you aren't doing the outer work of your career, like doing your stage training, your acting training, your performance chops, coaching repertoire, working on languages if you sing in other languages, doing marketing, digital marketing, social media, all the other stuff. Mindset work, yes, those need to happen too. But if you skip vocalizing, your voice is just going to stay where it is now or move backwards a little bit. And it's not going to be able to move forwards into this like what I envision for you, which is stratospheric success in your singing and having the voice that you dream of having. That's the vision that I'm holding for you, but you have to do the work to get there of vocalizing. The last thing, I said I would leave you with one more thing, but I just remembered that in the last recording of this that I had to re-record, there's one more thing that I said. And it's just that if you want to treat your voice and your career like a professional, make sure that you vocalize ahead of practicing repertoire. So don't make the mistake of jumping into the stuff that you're working on, the songs that you're working on, the repertoire that you're working on without vocalizing. Because remember what I was saying earlier, if you do just random cookie cutter exercises from the internet that you found somewhere or that your friend does, that it's just you're going to sing it the same way you always do. It's not going to move your voice forward and technique forward. Same thing with your repertoire. If you're not really aligning your instrument to your best unique sound ahead of singing your repertoire, you're just going to hop into the repertoire and sing it the same way. Remember how I sang this one aria that I'm so obsessed with? Yeah! That's how I'm going to practice it if I didn't vocalize and get my sound a little more and get that sigh quality, or however the warmth and the openness and all these things. If I'm not working that into my technique before I jump into repertoire, the repertoire is probably going to have all those bad habits in it. So I just want to give you that little caution to make sure you do this. And it only takes 5, 10, 15 minutes. I usually vocalize at the shortest 11 minutes, at the longest 20 minutes, 25 at the very, very, very longest. But usually it's around 15 minutes. And like I said, I take the recording of my lesson, whatever we've been working on technically, and I do that over and over and over for 10, 15 minutes. That's all it takes. Like, don't you think that's an incredible time investment to make 10, 15 minutes a day to be able to connect to your potential as a singer? Heck yeah, right? Like 5 thumbs up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. I think that's an incredible, it's so simple. And I really hope that this episode opened a door for you to understand what the heck this is. It's so voice teachery to be like, vocalize every day, build your dream sound, but also vocalize every day and start building your dream sound, because that's how you do it, through vocalizing. So if this episode sparked questions for you, why don't you just send them to me? I'm an open book. I love helping singers. It makes me so freaking bananas happy. I can't even with myself. Whew, I gotta calm down, because even thinking about it gets me so excited. You can connect with me at Voice Teacher Sarah on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And you can find this in the podcast audio version on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify has video and audio, and you can watch the video on YouTube. And if you want to work with me, if you think that after what we've talked about, you're like, holy cannoli, I need to work with Sarah, I would love to work with you. All you need to do is Google Voice Teacher Sarah Hockey, and you'll find my voice studio website, and you can find out how to work with me there. I would love to hear you. I would love to help you connect the dots from where you are now to where you want to be in your voice, and support your journey and really hold your hand the whole way. I'm so passionate about the success of my voice students, and I would love to be on your team supporting you. You deserve to have the best of the best. So if you feel so drawn, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm most active on Instagram. So I check TikTok and Instagram every single day. So if you want to ask me a question, you can hit me up wherever you spend the most time. But Instagram is the place that I check the most. And I'd love to hear about your vocalizing questions or exercise questions or anything like that. And then we'll keep going on this wonderful journey aligning you and your voice. Thank you for being with me for this episode of The Aligned Singer, and I'll see you next time. Bye!